I'm Jeanette, the North Dawn Coach. I'm glad you're here with me today because we are going to dive into a topic that I can imagine is probably on your mind and would be helpful to dive into. It's a issue for many of my career coaching clients that are coming in with this sense of career chaos. And by career chaos, what I'm talking about is really two different sorts of situations. One, they are coming in having been a part of a layoff. So it's not been their decision to leave their organization, and yet they find themselves needing to be in a job search. The second type of scenario is they are currently employed and wanting to find something else, either making a large pivot to some other career direction or a small change, finding another position in another part of their organization or in another organization out there. So both of these situations, currently employed and not employed but looking for something else, can bring about this sense of career chaos. And in particular, at its core, what is chaotic about it is the lack of control from the perspective of the person who is in the midst of the situation. So when you think about a job search, of course, there are many, many things that we can do to impact. We can do that in the preparation steps that we have for customizing resumes, for preparing for interviews, and so forth. And yet, despite our best efforts, besides having, in spite of having a wonderful networking system, getting referrals into jobs and so forth, even when you're doing all of those best things, still there's a lot of chaos. There's a lot out of control. You may not get that interview. You may get the interview and may show up really well and not get the second interview. You may be the silver medalist candidate that went all the way through the process and then they offered the job to somebody else. These things are outside of your ability to be the ultimate decision maker around, despite your best efforts. And so that can bring about a real significant feeling of chaos and lack of control. And so what I want to offer today is a shift in how we look at these circumstances so that we can bring more control into it. And one in particular that it's been a real fun experience to kind of notice this with a couple of clients who are runners. They are preparing for either half marathon distance or a marathon distance. And we have chatted about how the running plans to get to the particular outcome of completing the race have been so instrumental in successful preparation and feeling like, okay, I have some control over these outcomes. And so we've been experimenting with this idea of, well, okay, if a running plan works for preparing for a half or a full marathon or whatever distance you are preparing for, well, how could we take some of those same principles and apply it into the idea of the job search process so that we have less career chaos there? And so that doesn't, as an idea, does not guarantee anything. You can follow the run plan to the T and still on the day of the race not have a great experience. You could get an injury, all sorts of different things can happen. So there's no guarantees with it. But what we're going after here is more of a sense of control, less chaos in the process. And noticing that the ability of having a plan to create that sense of control, even though nothing's changed, we don't all have magical abilities to get the interview and so forth, but having a specific plan around the components of what we're doing in the job search, just like what we're doing in preparing to run a distance, can really give that sense of, I was going to use the word ease. I don't know that it's ease. There's not necessarily, that might be overstating it, but there's more of a level of comfort in knowing, okay, I'm going to wake up today and here are the 5 things. Here are the components of my job search plan for today. And I'm going to check those off and it's a successful day, no matter what the outcome is. And I don't have to feel like I'm going to be glued to my computer all day in quote job search mode. It's a much more contained, defined sort of a plan that can make us feel more in control and more comfortable in the process, despite nothing changing about the larger circumstances. This does not, again, guarantee, of course it doesn't guarantee the outcome, but it makes that process along the way a whole lot more, again, I was going to use enjoyable. I don't know that we can, that again might be overstating it, but it can be a much more comfortable process, a much more controlled process in using this idea. If this is of interest to you, I'd love to chat with you about it. Drop a comment in. If you would be interested in spending 45 minutes in a free, no strings attached career strategy session, I'm happy to do that. I'll put the link in the description box. But I'm very curious, what do you think about this idea of applying the same sort of a components of a running plan, but to a job search plan? And how might that help to ease this sense of lack of control, lack of calm, really bringing down the chaos in the career and the job search? All right, that's it for this week. We'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week ahead of you. Take care.